All right, thank you, Pastor. I appreciate the opportunity to come this evening. I have my son James with me, and I'm known in my neighborhood as the bird guy, or the weird bird guy. Even when I call my mechanic and say, hey, I need you to look at a vehicle, or there's an issue with my vehicle, he'll say, who is this? And I'll say, Jason. Who? The bird guy. Oh, yeah, how you doing? And so I'm known as the bird guy. I'll give you a little bit about myself, and I've got a lot of things I got to get through, so I don't want to take too long. How many got enough to eat? If you didn't, that was your own fault, all right? And but I want to explain a little bit about my background and how I got involved with birds of prey. I was raised in a hunter's home, and so my father is a hunter, my grandfather was a hunter, my great-grandfather was a hunter. I have 4 siblings, all girls, so 4 sisters, no brothers. So I spent a lot of time in the woods. Me and God in the woods, all right, for therapy purposes, all right? I always loved outdoors. I always loved weaponry. I love anything that flings a projectile. When someone says, what's your favorite caliber? My answer is yes. I saw a bumper sticker one time that said, happiness is a belt-fed weapon. I love that bumper sticker. I almost ran the guy off the road. Where did you get that sticker? I love that sticker. I love weaponry. I love bullwhips. I love longbows. I love, you name it all. Red tail magnum, capital M. Any kind of weapon. I remember my father when I was about 8 years old, I said, Dad, can you help me make a spear? I've been seeing some rats in the creek behind the house and I wanted to kill the rats. Now, most parents would say, have a seat, you got a problem. But Dad said, sure, I'll help you make a spear. Absolutely, son. This is America. So he did. Some of you are looking at me really weird, like, you actually made a spear and killed rats? Yes, I did. I've killed animals with blowguns. I've killed animals with slingshots. If it's any kind of weapon, I love it. So firearms, I love, but even animals like this. So I got involved in birds of prey through my father. My dad read a book in the 8th grade. He should have been in English class, but he skipped English and went to the school library and hid from the teacher. And he found a book while he was hiding in the back of the library on the sport of kings, hunting with birds of prey. He was absolutely mesmerized. And so I was the first of 5 children. So he would read me stories about birds of prey. I got hooked on it. And when I was a teenager, I got licensed and I went through all of that. I started as a falconer first. Then I got into raptor education. Then I got into banding raptors. Then I got into breeding raptors. Then I got into abatement with raptors. So if it's involved with raptors, I'm involved in it, okay? Man has been working with birds of prey, written proof on the history books, 4,700 years. I personally believe it goes back to the days of Nimrod in the Bible, but I cannot prove that. I can prove it goes back almost 5,000 years. 3 animals man has worked with longer than any other: the horse, the dog, and the bird of prey. These 3 animals man has worked with the longest. What I find fascinating is it's not coincidental that it's those 3 animals. They were used in conjunction together. The man rode the horse, held the bird, the dog flushed the game, the bird would catch the game. That's why those 3 animals were used together. I'm going to run through the birds that I brought with me real quick, and then we'll jump into the PowerPoint presentation. I cannot cover 4,700 years in 30 minutes. I'm not even going to try, all right? But I do want to explain some things about the raptors. There are different permits to own different things about birds of prey. Some of these birds are on an educational permit. That means they were injured and rehabbed in somewhere. They were bred in captivity and they're non-releasable. And so they were transferred to me for educational purposes. What I'm doing tonight, I'm educating with them. Some of the birds are used for falconry, which is actually hunting with birds of prey. So that's basically what I'm going to be dealing with tonight, is how you hunt with a bird of prey. That's what I'm going to be talking about. But I brought some variety. I have a lot of birds, and I don't like to bring all the same ones, so I try to bring some variety. So I'm just going to start at the far end and work this way real fast, just mention what they are, a couple things about them, and then we'll jump into the program so we can get you out at a decent time this evening. On the far end is a barn owl. And barn owls are probably the least common owl in the area. They are still around. They're named barn owls because they live in barns. 99% of their diet is rodents. If you have a problem on your farm with rodents, I highly suggest putting up a barn owl nest box. They'll do you a favor. They'll help keep your rodent population down. You'll do them a favor by putting up a nest box, help them raise their young. You say, well, isn't barn cats good enough? No. Number one, because they're cats. We won't get into that. That's a whole separate series of messages. All right. But number two, a cat is nowhere near as good as a barn owl. A pair of barn owls raising their young in 2 or 3 months can consume over 1,000 rodents. You cannot believe what barn owls can do. I breed barn owls. When I first read that statistic, I thought, I don't know about that. Then I started breeding them. I've had 4 young barn owls in a pack and play in my living room. Yes, I'm still married. 4 young barn owls in a pack and play in my living room, and in 4 weeks, they ate over 1,000 mice. They're like vacuums, rodent vacuums. When they're hatched, by day 55, they can fly. So that fuel, they're growing almost inches a day. A barn owl's hearing is absolutely phenomenal. A barn owl, he was talking about how God created the birds. A barn owl can locate a mouse 100 yards away by the sound of its heart beating. Wow. That is how well they can dial in. They're fascinating hunters. They're not used for falconry because most guys don't want to go out and catch mice. I mean, you could get it stuffed, but why? Okay. So barn owl in the end. Then you have a barred owl. The next one in the middle there, that is probably the most common owl we have in this area and on the East Coast. The barred owl is what we call a hoot owl. So if you ever hear a owl hoot at night, maybe you like to turkey hunt and you try to mimic an owl hooting to get a gobbler to gobble, the barred owl is the one you're mimicking. The who cooks for you, who cooks for you all, that sound, that comes from the barred owl. They eat a lot of mice, frogs, lizards, snakes. They like wetland, soggy areas. That's where they prefer to live. They have dark eyes, just like the barn owl. The darker the eye, the later they hunt. Some of your owls have light-colored eyes. The lighter the eye, the earlier they hunt. So a light-colored eye owl is a dusk and dawn hunter. A dark-eyed owl is what we call a true midnight hunter, all right? And then we have the great horned. It's about halfway down on this side. It is the meanest bird that I have. I have never handled a great horn that was not mean. Her name is Allie. She is 25 years old. She was taken out of the nest illegally by someone that should have known better. They didn't have a license. DNR found out about it, confiscated the bird. It was transferred to me, but it has already been hand-fed by a human, so it thinks humans are the food source. So even though the bird is 100% healthy, if you let it go back to the wild, when it gets hungry, it wouldn't go to the woods. You're coming out of Walmart, you get the idea what's happening. It's not good, okay? Great horns are extremely powerful. Let me give you a staggering fact. The average man in this room can squeeze everything he has, cranking down, could squeeze about 65 pounds per square inch, 65 to 70 pounds. I weigh 198 pounds, 6'2", solid muscle. I don't know why you're laughing. That was not a joke. All right. 6'2", okay? I got a good sized hand for a guy my size, okay? My dad has big hands. My grandfather has big hands. 65 pounds with everything I have. 198 pounds, 65. 198 pounds, 65. That bird weighs 4.5 pounds. It can squeeze over 500 pounds per square inch. So if a great horn gets hold of you, it is bad news now, all right? They like very, very large prey. They will take mice and rats and things like that. All raptors are opportunistic, but they like larger prey. Great horns like raccoons, possums. Their favorite food, hands down, skunks. They absolutely love skunks. I have seen great horns knock yearling deer off their feet. They're very powerful birds. If you're ever losing stuff on the farm, peacocks, chickens, peafowls, young goats, you're wondering what's taking them. The great horned. They're very powerful birds, okay? Then we'll start with the hawks. We'll mention this one first. This is a screech owl. Many people think it's a baby owl. It is not. It's a screech owl. They're born either red or gray phase. It's a red phase. So he's not a baby. Everyone thinks he's a baby. He takes offense to that. He's 6 years of age. He is full grown. He's about the size of a 50-cent piece when he's born. He weighs about 10 grams when he's born. Screech owls, how many's ever heard of screech owl in the wild? Okay, a couple people. They sound a lot bigger than they are. First thought when you hear a screech owl screech is pull a firearm and dial 911, somebody's getting killed. It's a bad sound. It's a horrific, it sounds like a woman screaming to the top of her lungs. It is a horrible sound. They take a lot of mice, insects, things like that, small birds. They're in this area as well. They're very secretive birds. They make a lot of sounds. I don't have the time to get into all of that. I'll mention the hawks real quick. Only one of these is, everything is native except these two hawks on this end. The one that's picking at its gear right now is a red-tailed hawk. Red-tailed hawks are everywhere. How many see red-tails every day? If you're in the right place, they're all over the place. They're like white-tailed deer. They can thrive in extreme heat, extreme cold. They're phenomenal birds. They're very good for falconry. They're very good hunters. That is a male. He's an educational bird. He's blind in his left eye, and so he's used for educational work. His name is Rowdy because he's always jumping around. He's always rowdy. The bird in the middle is a Swainson's hawk. It is not indigenous to Ohio. They are from Kansas and Nebraska. They're a beautiful bird as well. And then the bird on the end here is a captive bred bird. It is a Harris's hawk. They're native to Southern California and Arizona and New Mexico and parts of Texas. The bird on the end here is a Falconry bird. I bred her in captivity. I own her parents. So I actually watched that bird hatch. She hatched in my hand. And I fed her to about day 6 and put her back with her parents. And then she was left with her parents for 18 weeks. Then I went into the chamber and netted her and started the training process. She is used for hunting rabbits. So that is a bird that I use for hunting. So I'm the dog and that's the gun. So I try to explain that because some people look at me like, I remember one time a guy walked up to me and I answered about 50 questions from the guy. And he finally stuck his thumbs in his suspenders and said, one more question. I said, hit me. He said, don't the bird get scared when the gun goes off? So we're going to start over because you didn't get it, okay? The bird is the gun. I'm the dog, okay? And so I want to jump into some things about falconry for you. And hope this works, and we'll see what happens with this. So, all right. Falconry, the definition of the sport of falconry is the art or sport of taking wild game with a trained raptor. A raptor is a bird of prey. They're solely carnivorous. They only eat meat. These birds only eat meat. They don't eat berries. They don't eat grass. They don't eat seeds. They only eat raw meat. That's it. They eat fur, bones, everything, entrails, you name it, they eat it all, okay? If you give a red tail and it's hungry, a squirrel, when you come back, there's nothing left of it. They eat it all, if they're really, really hungry, okay? And so they're solely carnivorous. Falconry is a fascinating sport. It is legal in the United States, but it did not become legalized in the United States until the early 30s. Every time it would start to take some traction, we would have a world war and it would kind of die off again. And so it wasn't until the early 1960s that falconry kind of took off. Roughly in America right now, there are roughly 5,500 licensed falconers in the United States, about 5,500. There are only around 80 in the state of Ohio. In wild and wonderful West Virginia, where I live, there's around 30. There are 3 in my county, me, my father, and my son. So if you take my family out of the county, there are no other falconers in the county. There are actually counties in West Virginia that there's no falconers. There are counties there's only one. So I know a guy in Barber County, I'll name him. How did you know it was him? He's the only one, it has to be him. All right, so it's only a handful. Many people don't even know it's legal, that you can do it. It is the highest regulated field sport in America. It is highly regulated. There is so much paperwork, and I'll try to bounce on that in just a little bit. But again, I want to keep rolling here. This is a picture of my dad on your right with his best red tail. Her name was Integrity. He called her Teg. And then a picture of myself with a pair of squirrels there hunting a red tail as well. Go ahead and advance, James. This is James. When James was 16, he said, Dad, I'd like to become a falconer. And I said, well, you can hunt with Dad whenever you want. He goes, no, I really like to do it myself. I like to go through the whole ramifications and train my own bird and all that. So I sponsored him into the sport. And so that's his bird Reaper and a pair of fox squirrels he took that day with his bird. Like I said, you do have to have a license before you can own even a feather of a bird of prey. I am required by law to tell you that you cannot have a feather of a bird of prey without a license. Before 1972, birds of prey were not protected. Many of your fathers or grandfathers shot the chicken hawks. And everything that came on the farm, you shot it. Okay. Nowadays, if you get caught with a feather in your cowboy hat, they can lock you up for that. So you have to be licensed for that. To become a licensed falconer, anyone can do it if you're not a felon. But there's several hurdles. And again, I'm required by law to tell you this. You have 3 main hurdles. Hurdle number 1, you have to find someone that is already licensed as a falconer, that is a general or master class, that will take you on as an apprentice and sponsor you. No matter how much time or money you have, if you do not have a sponsor, you cannot get in the sport, period. You have to have a sponsor. If you don't find someone to take you on, you can't get in. Once you have a sponsor, then you have to take a test. It's given by your state, but it's a federal exam. You have to pass the test. The chances of passing without studying, 1 in a million. Okay? Once you pass your test, they send a DNR officer to your property. They check your facility that you have built, all your equipment, and then they process your permit, and then you're legal as a falconer once you pay your fee. But now you just have a piece of paper. You don't have a bird yet. okay? That is the legalities to get into the sport. It takes a while to do that, all right? Especially when you don't have that many people around. I want to pause for a second before I continue. Sometimes I take for granted what people understand about raptors. I've been studying raptors since I was a kid. I don't know a lot about a lot of things, but this book and birds, all right? The Bible and birds and guns, a little bit about guns. Calibers here and there, weaponry, you know. It's America, okay? Don't judge me, all right? How many like weaponry? How many don't like weaponry? Why are you here? I love weaponry. Every gift you gave out tonight had 9mm with it. It was awesome. Free car wash and 9mm. And an oil change, 9mm. That's awesome. Who would like the tires rotated? And 9mm. It's awesome. But raptors are broken into about 4 or 5 different groups. Eagles are your largest. Then you have hawks. Then you have falcons. Then you have owls. The first 3 are diurnal, which means they're awake during the day. They sleep at night. The last one, owls, are nocturnal. They sleep during the day and they're awake at night. So it's the opposite of the day birds. Eagles, when you think eagle, I want you to think strength. That's what they're built for. They're built for power. Eagles are the most powerful, one of the apex predators in the nation. It used to be about 4 or 5 years ago and before, they said the largest clawed animal in North America was a grizzly bear. They have now made the grizzly bear claw number 2. The number 1 claw in America is the golden eagle. They found claws longer than even on a grizzly bear. So they're the apex predator as far as claw length. So eagles are built for strength. We have 2 species in North America, the bald and the golden. The bald eagle is a fish eagle. The golden eagle is what we call a true booted eagle. It is made for whatever it wants to kill, pretty much. All right? So eagles are built for strength. Then you have hawks. 2 basic kinds of hawks, many species, but 2 kinds. You have soaring hawks. Most of these are soaring hawks. They have broad wings, short tails. They're built for soaring. Most of their quarry that they kill is furred. Mice, rats, squirrels, rabbits, things like that. Good percentage. Then you have another kind of hawk. They're called accipiters. They're not Buteo soaring hawks. Accipiters have short wings and long tails. They're not built for soaring. They're built for stalking. 90% of their diet is birds, feathered quarry. How many of you have a bird feeder in your yard? How many's ever seen a bird explode off your feeder in the yard, maybe on a snowy winter's day, and all of a sudden you're drinking a cup of hot coffee and the cardinal is eating the seed that you so graciously provided from Walmart, and all of a sudden it destructs. Poof. You're like, why did that bird? That was an accipiter. That was a Cooper's hawk or a sharp-shinned hawk or a goshawk. They come out of nowhere like a heat-seeking missile and they will take birds right out of the air. They're built for that, okay? They're built for stalking. So eagles are built for strength. Buteos are built for soaring. Your accipiters are built for stalking. Then you have falcons. Falcons are built for speed. They're the fastest animals in the world. The top speed right now on a peregrine falcon pumping straight down in a vertical drop. Are you ready? 280 miles per hour. That's with 3 radar guns. Now don't dismiss the number. Think for a second. How many of you know what a 95-mile-an-hour fastball looks like? 280 with 8 claws. Move. It's phenomenal. It is phenomenal. They're built for speed. 90% of their diet is birds as well. They're tremendous, tremendous flyers. And then you have your owls. Owls are built for stealth. They don't have to fly fast. Most of what they catch doesn't see them coming. Most of what they catch doesn't even hear them coming. They're kind of like just dropping out of a tree and then me sneaking up behind you with a ball bat. By the time you figured out I was there, rest in peace. That's what happens. And so that's what they're built for. So that gives you the breakdown on the different raptors, okay? Just like there's 3 steps to get into falconry, you have to have a sponsor, take a test, and have your equipment and your facility inspected. There's 3 steps in falconry once you are licensed, okay? The first step is this. Let's suppose I got my permit. I'm now legal. I have to catch my first bird of prey from the wild. So trapping is the first step in the sport. It is a lot of fun trapping birds of prey. Right in this time of the year, is when you're catching birds because they're migratory. They migrate south September through November. They migrate south for winter. And so if you're on a ridge, when they're migrating south, you live catch them. It's kind of like deep sea fishing in the sky. I'm basically using nets and I'm luring them out of the sky to a small area and I'm netting them. It is a really neat concept. So that is a juvenile red tail that I caught. It does not have its red tail yet and it has yellow eyes. That tells me it's a juvenile. A red tail does not get its red tail to its 2nd year. So if I catch one that already has a red tail like this one, legally I have to let that bird go because that bird is already at least 2 years of age. It is not a juvenile. It is what's called a haggard or an old hag. That's, by the way, is where that comes from. In fact, I could go on for an hour and tell you phrases and words that you use in your everyday language that are tied with birds of prey and you don't even know it. Have you ever heard someone say, I can't believe that guy would stoop so low? That's a falconry phrase. Have you ever heard someone say, beat around the bush? Have you ever heard someone say, she's got him wrapped around her little finger? That's where the leash goes. Have you ever heard someone say, she's got him under her thumb? That's where you hold the gesture where the bird can't get away. I could keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going. We use these phrases because man has been working with birds of prey for so long. That is a juvenile Cooper's hawk on the left and a haggard Cooper's hawk on the right. So by law, I can only keep a young bird because mortality rate is 90% the first year. 9 out of 10 raptors die their first year. So as a falconer, when I catch a bird of prey from the wild that's a juvenile, it's probably not going to make it anyway. So I'm not hurting the population. I'm actually helping the population because I can fly a bird for several years and then put them back in the wild. So anyway, we won't get into all that. This is actually live footage of me catching a bird. I've got a pigeon in a net in the middle. A red tail comes out of nowhere, nails the pigeon, thinks it's getting a free meal. It doesn't realize that it's netted or staked to the ground. I fire my bow net, boom. And that is a method of trapping our bird of prey in the wild. I actually did that 3 days ago. So this is a red tail coming in. Landing gears coming down. Oh, that's awesome. Slow motion for you. Again, this bird could be 400 yards out and it'll cross that 400 yards in seconds. Landing gear comes down. It thinks it's getting a free meal on the pigeon. It doesn't realize that you got nets set up and you're gonna snag it. Again, it comes in, nails the pigeon, thinks it's getting a free meal. When it's in the right position, fire my net, and that's a method of trapping. There's lots of different methods. I'm just showing you how you can do it. This is several years ago, this video here. Be real careful when you got one in the net. Get them on their back. And again, you want to be careful, get their attention on one hand while you grab the feet, almost like you're holding a chicken upside down. Be careful they don't grab you. A red tail can squeeze over 400 pounds per square inch. So you want to be real cautious. If they grab you, you're bleeding. So they're pretty powerful. So I'm just showing how I take a bird out of the net. I get control of the feet. I do not worry about getting bit. A lot of people say, aren't you worried about a bird biting you? No, I could care less about being bit. The feet is what I care about. So I'm going to reset my net there, check on my pigeon, make sure he's still with us. By the way, pigeons are hardy. I've caught 10 hawks in a row on the same pigeon. They're really strong. So that's what can happen to the pigeon. Sorry, everyone's done eating, right? So that's what can happen to the pigeon. That is a juvenile red-tailed hawk. I trapped that bird in 2020. Her name is Regal. She's at home. I have her right now. I hunted her day before yesterday. So that is this bird right here. Rep. That's it when it was a chick. And then it at 16 weeks, juvenile feathers, and now she's 8 years of age. So you can actually catch them from the wild. Once you graduate after an apprentice for 2 years, you become a general class, which means you're no longer under your sponsor. You can also then purchase birds from licensed breeders. I could buy a peregrine falcon or a gerfalcon. I can get into other raptors. Your numbers increase. After 5 years, as a general, you become a master class. And then you can get into all kinds of things. So your rank determines how many birds you can have and what kind of birds. Once you trap your bird, then step number 2, your training begins. It usually takes me about 4 weeks to train a bird, whether I pull it out of a chamber to train the bird that's been captive bred, or if I catch one from the wild and start training it. Again, it's taking me about a good 4 weeks to train that bird. I weigh my birds every day on a scale. You say, why? Because the bird will only fly to you if it's at a hungry weight. How many of you have a dog at home right now? When you get home tonight and you walk in the door, what happens? It runs up and greets you. It is, where have you been? I missed you, right? It's freaking out. A bird of prey never does that. You walk up to a bird of prey, it looks at you like, does he have his hunting vest on? No. Does he have food in his hand? No. There is no love. I've had ladies ask me, do you snuggle with your owls? No, they're not snugglers. I've had people ask me, what kind of tricks do they do? They kill stuff. I don't want to tell you, okay? They're not parrots, they're not parakeets. That's what they do, okay? So they care about killing and eating. That's all they care about. So When I first catch a bird, I determine what weight it flies best at, and I chart that weight every day. Here I am training a bird outside. It has a long, thin leash. You can't see the leash, but this bird can't escape because it's on a leash. When I can hold a piece of meat up and whistle, and that bird will fly to me instantly, and I can keep lengthening the distance, you'll notice after about 10 feet, the bird won't want to come anymore. That tells me that bird's still too heavy in weight. I have to slowly figure out what weight it flies best at. Now, by the way, I'm not starving the bird. Anyone can say, well, I won't feed the bird for a week. Well, you're going to kill the bird. That's not smart. So you have to determine what weight they fly best at. It takes about 4 weeks to figure that out. Then comes the hard part. Let's suppose this bird's been flying. I mean, as soon as I whistle, it's coming. I got the bird. And I think, you know what? I found this bird's weight. Now comes the hard part. I have to let it go. I take the leash off and I let it go. And it flies up into a tree and it knows it's free. And I whistle and I think, please come back. And it is an awesome feeling to whistle and that bird flies out of the tree and lands on your glove because it chooses to. You say, what if you were wrong on the weight and it's too heavy? Then it flies to Canada and you learn a valuable lesson. You start over because there's not a thing you can do if it flies away. There's not one thing you can do. So every time I hunt that bird, I risk losing that bird because there's nothing I can do to make it come back. It has to choose to stay with me. But if you train them properly and you know what you're doing, you can have them for year after year after year. I flew a red-tailed hawk for 17 years. And I took literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of squirrels and rabbits with that bird. Once you've trapped the bird and trained the bird, then the hunting starts. This is over 20 years ago. I was much bigger for Jesus back then. No laughing, okay? I was much chunkier then, all right? This is a really, really, really good day with my dad and I. We took 6 rabbits and 4 squirrels. I took a picture and I showed this in the slide presentation for a reason. Normally, you would never take this much game with 2 hawks. When you're hunting with a bird of prey, different than hunting with a conventional weapon like a rifle. If you were hunting with a 22 and I'm hunting with a red tail, you're going to beat me as far as quantity. You have a more conventional weapon. But I will see things hunting with a bird of prey you will never see hunting with a firearm. In other words, in falconry, it's more about the quality of the hunt than the quantity of game I'm catching, the quality of the chase. For instance, I've had squirrel hunters that are up in years, that have been hunting squirrels for 60 years, tell me that squirrels can't swim underwater. Want to bet? I've watched a hawk chase after a squirrel and a squirrel bail out of a tree, hit a river and swim 30 feet underwater and the bird go in the water and catch it. You don't see that hunting with a gun. I've had a squirrel corkscrew down a tree to get away from the hawk, jump off the tree onto my head, off of my head, and the bird catch it. I've had a hawk knock a squirrel out of a leaf nest in a tree, free fall. I caught the squirrel in my gloved hand, but I know what's coming behind it. And I threw the squirrel and the hawk caught it in the air. I've had rabbits go between my legs and the hawk went between my legs and caught the rabbit. That don't happen when you gun hunt, okay? So remember, when you hunt with a firearm, you're the number one predator. The prey animal wants to get away from you. When you hunt with a raptor, you're no longer number one. The bird is number one. You shift to number 2. So it's completely different. You're the dog. That's the gun. So it changes. So I wanted to show you that picture to give you an idea. This is James and I hunting a pair of red tails on squirrels. Another shot. Hunting some squirrels with red tails that day. We do hood our birds. This is hunting with Harris hawks with a friend of mine who's now in heaven. This is, click again on the left-hand side. This is the first rabbit that hawk caught. Nice head grab on that rabbit. So usually when the hawk catches something, I reach in and dispatch if it's not already dead. And then I don't rip the kill away from my birds. I trade them off of the kill. Remember something, if a predator catches something and I run in there and rip that kill away from them, that wasn't smart, was it? It earned it. So what I do is I run in, I anchor the game. This is my method. I reach into up my vest, pull out a trade, and I throw a trade. This is how I trade my birds. When the bird chooses to leave the kill, then I bag it. So I didn't take the kill, it left it, then I bag it. If you reach in and rip the kill away, the next time you reach in, it's going to reach back. Okay, so as long as you're consistent in your training, by the way, this is true with training horses, training dogs, raising children, whatever it may be, all right? That is the Harris on the left and the red tail on the right. This is my son, James. He was 16 here. Squirrel went into a small tree, a hollow. James saw it. He flushed the squirrel out. He takes off running after the squirrel like the dog, and the bird comes out of nowhere and smokes it. So this shows you hunter and bird working together to take the game. So it gives you a taste of it. I'm going to show you a bunch of different clips now, different kinds of birds hunting different types of things. These are Harris hawks chasing rabbits, just clip after clip after clip, just to give you an idea of what it's like to kick out game and have the bird go in after it. It's a very active form of hunting. Most hunting, you sit in a tree stand or you sit still in a blind or you stalk. Falconry, you run a lot. I lose about 10 pounds every fall running, just trying to keep up. So each bird is used to hunt different things. This is a little kestrel. It's a little tiny falcon. You can actually hunt them right out the vehicle window, kind of like a legal drive-by shooting. You can literally in the summertime hunt starlings because starlings aren't protected. You can just roll the window down while you're drinking a pop and then just send the bird right out the window. It's very therapeutic. Some people golf, but why would you when you could do this? So, and most people don't care about starlings. Usually they're like, yeah, bring your bird, get rid of the starlings. So again, you can fly them right out the window. And so again, each bird represents a different caliber. I'm not sticking my nose into your business, but how many of you have different firearms at home, like different calibers? And the reason you do, by the way, that's a great sight. But the reason you do is because you're not going to hunt a squirrel with a 270, hopefully not. And you're not going to hunt a grizzly with a 22, hopefully not. Wrong weapon. Same is true with birds of prey. If I'm hunting small things, I'm going to use the bird that fits that thing. So you can hunt small sparrows and starlings with certain species all the way up to larger birds on other games. So you match the quarry to the predator. That's exactly what you do. So this is hunting a goshawk out the window on crows. By the way, make sure it's legal in your area before you do it. Again, the crow never even knows it's coming. Boom. Again, some of you wonder why I would do this, and I'm wondering why wouldn't you? It's like, it's just so awesome, the slow motion. The crow does not know it's coming. It's like, hello. So again, goshawks are very good on pheasants, on crows. Go ahead and advance. This is a merlin, small little falcon, a little bit bigger than a kestrel. We do have merlins around here. They will go up with them giant ball of starlings. Somebody's ever seen them giant flocks of starlings over farm? They'll go up, ring way up, a big ball of starlings. If you look at that big ball of starlings on your right-hand side, that falcon's going to cut right through the center of them, left-hand side, sorry, cut through, and then he'll peel one out and bring it right down to the ground. Really cool. So again, match the quarry with the prey animal. And I'm just showing you different species hunting different things. This is a gerfalcon. This is the largest falcon in North America. They usually hunt them on ducks. They usually let the falcon go when they spot the ducks on the water. The falcon goes way up to a position. They send the dog in to flush the ducks, and then the falcon goes into a stoop to take the duck out. This particular day, there are some geese mixed in with the ducks. Geese are slower, and so he's going to try a shot on a goose instead. There's a pretty good headshot on this goose, so it'll give you a taste of what it's like. Slow motion for you. Headshot, boom. Again, close up for you. By the way, you can find this video clip on YouTube. It takes about 11 minutes. I won't show you the whole thing. In the end, the goose pretty much wins in the end. So this video clip, I need to set it up for you. Remember I told you how fast falcons can fly? By the way, be careful when you go on YouTube with this. If you're a hunter and you really appreciate predators, this is a rabbit hole. You can literally start clicking on falconry videos and it's morning. Don't, be careful, you have to work tomorrow. Don't, be careful. Anybody's ever had that happen to you? You're like, what happened? This is a group of ducks by a wash. They're just sitting there sunning. This duck is sitting by itself and all of a sudden it falls over like it had a heart attack. That's what it looks like. Actually, it got hit by a falcon. You just didn't see it until you see the slow motion. So hopefully you can see this. We'll try it. And he's dead. He comes back in and lands, and he's going to go over and then he's going to eat it. Slow motion. It just raises its head. That's it. That gives you a taste of how fast they come out of the sky. I have watched a peregrine falcon drop out of the sky and hit a mallard duck so hard it sheared its wing off of its body. Some of you are looking at me like, well, that's neat. No, listen to me. We passed neat on the corner way back. All right, it's phenomenal. It is phenomenal. This is hunting in the Czech Republic. They hunt a roe deer with eagles. So this shows you what can be done if you have a big enough bird. So these deer range about 60 to 70 pounds. They're not like a whitetail. But again, it gives you a taste of what it's like. This over in Czech Republic where they hunt roe deer. So again, if you have a big enough bird, you can hunt larger prey. You say, man, that is graphic. Yes, this happens every day in the wild. By the way, folks, I know not everyone is a hunter, but If more people understood this concept, we wouldn't have people in Congress talking about how we don't need farms anymore because there's enough eggs in the store. Amen? And this is the last clip I'll show you. This is actually hunting foxes in Mongolia. They've been doing this for generations with their eagles. So again, if you have a large enough predator, you can take a very, very large prey as well. Number one defense of that prey animal is going to be to run, speed, to get away. They put a back camera on this eagle, by the way, which is phenomenal. That's awesome. Speed, which their foxes are fast. Some people think golden eagles are slow and cumbersome. They are not. They're extremely fast. Watch how fast this eagle is coming out of the sky. Once the fox realizes number one defense is not going to work, it will turn and try to fight. This is a little graphic. This is, again, what happens in the wild all the time. It'll turn and try to fight. But again, golden eagle has been pressure tested on the tips of its talons at 1,200 pounds per square inch. That is enough power to crush the human skull like an egg. And so again, you say, wow, that's what a way to go. Yes, I know. Also, the eagle could be hurt as well if it gets grabbed by the fox. It is survival of the fittest. It is predator versus predator. And we have generations teaching the next generation. Again, they've been doing this for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. The Kazakh hunters have been doing that. So some people, it's a way of life. It's how they live. They eat the meat. They use the furs. By the way, I love when this guy runs up on his horse. He runs up to this kill here. You can tell by looking at him that this is not his first fox. Look at his coat. This is what they wear. This is what they do. This is about 30 below zero. So again, if the bird would miss, they would call it back to the fist, and that'd be the end of that. So I'm going to transition right now into our message time.